Sasha Chemelevski is a workhorse. Today, in episode 44, we take a look at how a kid from Cali turned into a force on the main stage for Team USA during the World Juniors and a household name in Ottawa for 67 fans. We look at his academic successes along with being a member of the San Jose Sharks organization. This is a special one today. I'm your host, Robert Greeley, and this is Greels. Let's jump into it. Sasha, my man, it's been a while. How you been?
I'm good, Rob. Just been dealing with this pandemic like everyone else has, I guess. Just training a lot and just staying in shape.
You're in Michigan now, right?
Yep, I'm in Northville, Michigan, so I've been home longer than I expected.
So I guess that's kind of where I want to start things with you because you were born in Cali, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. So born in Cali, grew up in Michigan.
Yeah, so I was born in Huntington Beach, California, and when I was 12, my family, we moved to Michigan for hockey.
Okay. And so, is that kind of is California where the hockey dream started, or did it really kind of develop in Michigan? Because obviously, I guess California is not really known as more so probably a football state than a hockey state. And then Michigan, of course, is probably known pretty heavily as a hockey state.
Well, I think it still started in California, like my dream of playing hockey. I grew up like watching like the Ducks a lot on TV and the Kings. And just from like being young and always at the rink, it's just something I always wanted to do is try to play in the NHL. So for me, I think it started at a really young age, but I think like the vision of like having a chance to like play in the NHL kind of came when I was starting to get a little bit older, and we did move to Michigan just because I wanted to keep playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, is Bobby Ryan a big role model for you then, being a
You know
California?
what? A little bit. Like I wouldn't say like I had one certain guy that I watched, but I remember that like I still remember like he had this one move when I was little. I was watching. He had like a spin around move, and I was like, every time when I was little, I tried and tried and tried, even if it wouldn't work. And I remember he would score so many highlight reel goals. So for me, since he's a righty, like I would watch him a lot when he played for the Ducks.
Mm-hmm. So I guess now my next question is kind of leading into your OHL career because being an American player, how'd you find yourself getting on the radar of those Ontario League teams? Because I mean, you went number 10th overall in the first round there, so obviously you were a pretty highly touted prospect for them.
Yeah, like you said, I had a good season and a few good seasons up to that point, and because I live in Northville, the Plymouth Whalers were like literally down the road, so we would watch them all the time. I'd watch like Domi when he came with London, and then McDavid, and I just remember like it was so cool. It seemed like a mini NHL for me, and for me, like I didn't have too many colleges talking to me at the time, probably because I was young and maybe they thought I might play in the OHL. So for me, I had never really picked where I wanted to go, but I was never saying no to OHL teams. I really wanted to actually play in the OHL. So when Sarnia picked me up, that was like, besides getting drafted in the NHL, that was one of the cooler moments too.
Yeah. Is there so I know you mentioned you didn't have a lot of colleges, looking at you at the time, but was that more of a factor of why you chose maybe the junior route as opposed to NCAA? Because I mean, obviously that's such a big debate between up and coming hockey players, right? What route to choose?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like for me, there weren't too many talking to me, so it was like, well, I'm not gonna try to talk to them because if I have people that are interested in me, I want to go where, I feel like I'm gonna have my best chance to develop as a hockey player. And for me, I liked how the OHL played a lot of games as opposed to college, where I think they kind of played half the amount. And I just wanted to be a part of that culture. So, and it was pretty cool playing hockey in Canada. I mean, it was like one of the better 4 years of my life, I'd say.
And so I guess when you first arrived to Sarnia, obviously it's a big difference from, Michigan, California, what you're used to. What was the first thoughts there and adjustments that you had to make?
Yeah, well, I had never like been in like a small town. I would say Sarnia is a smaller town. Like a lot of people know everybody there. And for me, like, I mean, it was a big adjustment. It was a different country. I mean, it was right across the border, but still, it was different. You're the youngest kid on the team, and there was only like me and one more kid that was a 99. So like, we were like puppies compared to these guys, and like, like just you're just trying to make your name in the league, and it's a grind. It kind of reminds me a lot of like my first year this year in the AHL, where it's like you have a lot to prove, and but it like you said, like it was still really exciting.
Now, the time in Sarnia was pretty short lived. And I mean, you're probably, in my opinion, a part of one of the biggest blockbuster trades in the OHL. I think this one still kind of holds heavy as being one of the bigger moves, honestly, since it happened. Like, there's nothing really that strikes me. You get dealt to Ottawa. Travis Konecny, is coming off a World Junior experience. They're his captain. There's a pile of draft picks. Like you said, you're a pup. Like, you're a 99, first year in the league. You're about 30 games deep, and something like that happens. What was the process of processing that accusation or transaction?
Yeah, I think for me, like I knew there was a chance I could get traded. I just didn't know if it
Mhm.
was going to be Ottawa or someone else. But like I remember getting called into the office, like, "Hey, like you got traded. Like, this is what you got to do," and blah blah blah. Like sign the papers, and I was like, I was nervous, but I was excited at the same time because like it was like tough for me in Sarnia. I don't. They were an older team, so it was hard to get into the lineup and play like solid minutes. So Ottawa obviously traded away a huge piece, like their first overall pick. And I just knew that I'd have a little bit more of a chance there. So when I got to Ottawa, the only reason I knew Ottawa was because of like the Senators, like just knowing that name.
Mhm.
But I heard about how cool it is to play in Ottawa. And when I got there, I just remember like I played my first game and I scored a goal, and it was a good night for me. It was really fun.
I mean, you've definitely had a few good nights since then in that rink at TD Place too. I got to say, was it kind of aligning with a lot of what you've mentioned before? Was it a nice kind of like silver lining in getting traded, where it's like, okay, hey, like I'm a part of a deal where this organization gave up a lot to have me come here. Like, they definitely see a lot of promise in you.
Yes, like you said, like when team trades for you, they want you. Obviously,
Yeah.
they believe in you, and I knew that still being super young, that it was great for me because it was like a fresh start, and it was a bigger city, something that I liked. There were a couple more young guys on the team, like Austin Keating, Travis Barron, Noel Hoffenmeyer, Huddy Wilson. So like those are like my like really good friends now, obviously, and I feel like the culture there kind of like it grew between us and like the younger guys, and that's kind of where like our core group started.
Would you also accredit those guys as being the almost the guys who took you under your wing right away and like you really connected with when you arrived in Ottawa?
I would say like the older guys more took me under their wing, but I would say like those guys are like the guys are like I build like a good like bond with them just because like I think one guy who took me under his wing, I would say though, was Travis Barron. He was only a year older than me, but he has a really strong character about him, especially on the ice. He's kind of like that protector kind of, and me not being like the craziest physical guy, like he would always kind of step in there for me if I needed some help. So like I think that's a guy that I definitely looked up to when I first started.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot about him, actually. I mean, it's no surprise seeing as, he was the captain of the 67s. But, when we had Austin on, he said the exact same thing as in terms of a mentor is definitely Travis who really took him under his wing. And I guess, you know what, did you kind of model that system? Because, I was fortunate enough to see how you interacted with a lot of guys in the locker room in your last season there at the 67s. And, I would put those same character descriptions on yourself as you do for him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I've always kind of saw myself as a leader, always by example, less vocally. But I feel like I kind of took on that role in my last year with the 67s, and especially like the younger guys at the time, like the Graham Clarks, the Jack Quinns, Alec Belanger, Tolnai, like those were like younger guys, or like I remember when I was young, sometimes like an older guy wouldn't talk to me or like wouldn't include me, and I just didn't want them to have that feeling. I wanted them to feel like they were part of the team, and that we were going to need them, and that they were going to be important. And I think that's all you can ask for as a young guy, as an older guy, to kind of reach out and say, "Hey, man, like look, I saw this here, I saw this there." You're not telling them how to play the game. Obviously, they're there for a reason, but you're there when they're down or they feel like something isn't right, because you got to remember these guys were studs when they were on their team at their age, and now they're coming in as young guys. So it's a lot different and it's a lot harder for them. So they need guys like older guys like myself to help them out with that transition.
Yeah, and I mean, you did hit the nail on the head too with, mentioning how important like the whole depth of the roster is, because I think a credit to that 67's playoff run there was just how deep you guys were, right? I mean, you had guys like Jack Quinn who were playing, third, fourth line minutes throughout that run, and now you're looking at what he can do when he's, on the ice for
Yeah.
most of the guy went from 12 goals to 56 in a shortened season. He still had 10 games left. He was probably going to hit 60.
Hmm.
But now, just going through the motions over your time at the 67s, you guys, we're always a playoff team during your tenure there, and then as the later years kind of moved on, you really developed into like that powerhouse where you were winning a lot of games and stuff like that. What do you kind of attest a lot of that to?
I think I attest to Andre, honestly. He came in and he kind of like just changed like the entire culture of like the 67s. At that point, like you said, like we were a playoff team, but it wasn't like we were going to go too far. It felt like, and I felt like the team wasn't always like together. Like not to say like guys didn't like each other, but we like when Andre came in, it just felt like we played for each other so much more. And I wouldn't say like we were the most talented team like like ever. Like we just played really well together, and I think Andre realized that he was going to take whatever we had and maximize our potential, and we played together so well that we gelled together so quickly just because we liked hanging out with each other. Practices were fun, they were competitive, and that just like breeded like excellence. And like you said, that's when we exploded.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely the testament too of like what you guys have individually gone on to accomplish, right? With Noel landing that AHL deal, you doing your thing. I mean, Ty is killing it as well, and even you got Jack making the roster, and Andre's coaching the World Juniors. Let's talk international hockey there a little bit. World Juniors is coming up. Any predictions?
Um, well, man, I can't say I'm not cheering for USA. You know what I mean? But like whenever USA is not playing, like I'll definitely be watching Andre and Jack there. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Like World Juniors is such a great time. I remember when I played, it was like one of the better times of my life. Like it's a tournament where everyone watches from NHL players down to like mini mites. Like everyone just you live for that, especially in Canada. So for those two guys to represent their country, I'm sure there's not a prouder moment in their life.
Are you texting Jack at all, or are those guys trying to give him some pointers, maybe help him out a little bit, or is it too much of a
No,
Canada-U.S. rivalry?
no, it's not that. Honestly, if he ever needed anything, I'd definitely help. I remember congratulating Andre last year when they had won, and I don't want to bother him too much. I'm sure they get so many text messages, but I'm definitely happy for both of them, especially Jack. Like I know, how hard he works and how much better he's gotten over the last couple of years. So I'm sure he did a great job at camp to make sure that he was on the roster.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about your own experience there too, right? Because I mean, you went through the motions, and World Juniors is so big in Canada, and I mean, honestly, you hear everything about Hockey Canada and what they're doing and how their camps are going, but as a Canadian, you don't really hear a whole lot about like what Team USA is doing. So when you were going through those motions, I mean, what was the day to day kind of looking like? How did you go about different things, going to the rink, playing with guys like that? And I mean, you also had an exceptional World Junior tournament in your own rights too.
Yeah, well, I remember the year before I had gotten cut, so like I was like, this is my last chance, so I got to leave it all out there. And I remember we flew into Seattle, and we stayed a few days in Everett at the CHL rink they had there, and it's basically just a lot of practices and some scrimmages. I feel like some guys have already made the team, they just don't say anything, and then some guys are like myself were like really trying to like push and crack a roster. So then after that, like we had gone to Kamloops and kept getting closer to Vancouver, and like that was another experience. Like we played a few games there, and I remember I think what helped me make the team was we had played. I can't remember the name of the city. It's like 40 minutes from Vancouver. I don't know if it's Surrey or something like that.
Okay.
But anyways, we had played Czech Republic, and I had a really good game. Like played well. showed how I can help the team out. And I remember like the next day, like you get into the room and they list off names, like who made it, who didn't. And luckily my name was like one of the first ones called. So I didn't have to like wait. So I was like relieved. And I just remember calling my parents and then being so happy. And that was a cool Christmas present almost, like just telling them I made the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the benefits of having C as the first letter in your last name, probably. You get tossed.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you it was alphabetical.
No, man, that's awesome. Looking back on that tournament, I mean, USA performed really well. Like you guys were a really deep team. How's it how's it feel kind of looking back on it now? Because I know it's always bittersweet taking home a silver medal, but I mean, do you obviously look back fondly on all that?
I do. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think about it a lot, honestly, just because it was like such a like big moment in my life. And whenever you're like not feeling good or something not going good, you can always look back on those moments. I have a few pictures in my room of those games that we played, and it's just an unbelievable experience. Like I had made the team as like a fourth line guy, I should say, and I wasn't playing that much at first, but I think I contributed in different ways, and that helped me later on the medal rounds where those games got really like important. They needed like the depth of the team to step up. So like you said, it sucks because we lost in the finals, but I mean, even like the last game, like that game I played so well. And, it was just a great experience, like regardless of, second place.
Yeah, well, you had 2 points in the finals, didn't you? I know you scored,
Yeah.
and also you got an apple there too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had an apple and a goal. And, I think those were like the 10 best minutes of my life, honestly. Like that was insane. Because we were down like 2-0. I just felt like the roof was caving in. And we just all of a sudden found some momentum, and it was insane, honestly. Like that was insane hockey. Like it was such a high level and so competitive that you're just having like an out of body experience watching yourself play almost. It's crazy.
The roller coaster that you kind of experienced with Team USA over that couple of years, from getting cut, then like finally making it, being a fourth line guy, and now like we just mentioned, being in that gold medal game and having such a performance. You finished the tournament too, like second in the team in scoring, with 7 points over the tournament. Like, uh, what do you accredit all that to, I guess?
Honestly, I think it's just my hard work. Like I always push myself. Like I always keep in mind that there's some kid somewhere doing something to get better, and that sits with me. And I always try to get better. And I think when you get in those moments where like they're high pressure moments, you have to rely on like the work you did, because that's all you have to fall back on. And I just accredit it to that. And also I think changing the narrative of being just I always want to tell myself I want people to remember me as a big time player. I don't want to be known as the guy who does so good, but then when it's important, he doesn't do good. So I think I just went out with that mindset.
Honestly, seeing you play in big playoff games, that makes a lot of sense with the results that you get, that you have that mindset. You've gotten the chance to on that team. I just want to ask, like, how was it playing with the Hughes brothers? Because obviously they're a big hockey family, and I know you played U17 with Quinn as well. So you guys have kind of almost grew up in the national ranks together.
Yeah, well, that like you said, I had been to the top 40 camp to try to make the national program with, and I remember Quinny was on my team, and then we had played in the U17 tournament, and then like when we played at the under 20s, it was cool because he was drafted by Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
so like they booed us, but like if they called his name out, they cheered for him. So it was funny, and then like with Jack, like Jack was my roommate actually at the tournament, so it was kind of cool getting to know Jack. And there's like a lot of there's so much talent between those two guys, and they definitely work hard. It's not given at all to them. They earn everything, and I think it's fun to be around them, especially on the ice, because that puck just like never leaves their stick. It feels like they're always like just making these moves that kind of like make you think, oh, well, I want to try that next time.
So speaking of getting booed, I mean, a lot of your teammates get to go back into American markets with the silver medal. You go back to Canada after Team USA outperforms Canada. So what was it like going back into a Canadian market? I know the 67s were all really celebratory, and I remember congratulating you actually. It was like a family day game, so we had like the autograph session after. You also had I don't think anybody said anything negative to you that day because you also had like 5 goals that game for the 67s.
Yeah, I remember that. That was another story that we should get into later. But what I can say is, from coming back, the 67s did a great job. Like, I came back and they presented me and Mikey DiPietro with like a plaque and like a really nice picture. And I remember the fans like had cheered for me, so that was pretty cool. Canadian people are really, I find, really warm people. They're really nice people, and I was just glad to like be accepted like that, because obviously, like you said, like I wasn't representing them, but they understood that I still represent the 67s.
No, it was awesome. It was really, I honestly, I kind of credit that day as like the first day that like I got to know you. So just because the hustle and bustle, I guess, of like a game day, like it's so hard to kind of keep everything intact and actually like get to know you guys, right? Like
Yeah.
you start to get to know them, like post games, like when it's a good game, you got autograph signings and you get to shoot shit a little bit and stuff like that, right? So
Hmm.
honestly, yeah, that was in terms of like my memory bank, like that. Those were some good memories, especially that day. And we'll get into some more. Last thing on international hockey, though, because obviously you played U17, U20. I guess the next step would be, ideally if Team USA for the Olympics. What do you think that moment would be, and who would you want in that locker room with you?
Man, well, I just know that if I ever had that opportunity, that would be crazy. I can't think where the next one is right now. I'm not sure where it is, but like, just to say like that you're on, like, I'm an Olympian, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, just think about how many great players have represented at the international stage. Like, it's crazy. I think I can't say like who would I want there to be, but just like guys like that you watch growing up, like Joe Pavelski, that would be pretty cool to learn from, like the NHL guys, if the NHL is allowed to go, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, really taking the advantage of almost networking, in a way, and just growing yourself. See, that's something that I've noticed about you. You're always looking at things in an educational aspect to develop as far as you can, right? I mean, it's a testament to what you do on the academic side, because during your time there, what, two-time top OHL academic player, and then also the CHL, all of Canada top
Mm.
academics. Like, I guess, for shortened terms, why, like, how, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like, just again, like kind of like my values. Like, I'm always kind of been like a hardworking kid, and school is something that I've always taken seriously. I don't know why. It's just like a competitive drive in me. Like I don't want to be handed a bad grade.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even say like I definitely like attributed to my parents. Like, they always wanted me to have good grades, but I just want to be known not just as a hockey player. I want other things too. And eventually hockey's going to stop, and you want to say that you have something to fall back on. And I think an education is important. That's why I keep up with college courses when I can, just to make sure that when hockey is over, I'm not going to like it, but I need something to fall back on and a passion to go into.
What do you think that career path will be for you?
Honestly, I have a few options. I think one is falling back into hockey. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
just having, like, I think, like a business degree, and just being able to like manage and stuff like that, and maybe coaching. I enjoy helping younger kids out, like you said, just training them and seeing them get better. The other thing, I think, just being good at like math and science, like looking into like some kind of science degree, just because I know my parents come from like a nursing background, and for me, like, to try to like be like not a doctor, but something along those lines would be pretty cool, like a therapist or something like that. I know it sounds crazy because I play hockey right now, but that's like another career I think about.
Yeah, well, I'm sure whatever is going to be, you're going to excel at it, and let's kind of get into that, a moment where you really excelled, that we mentioned it, the 5 goal game. What, period by period, like, what are you thinking? Because obviously those things at any level doesn't happen often.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. So the game before, um, I didn't like the way I played. I think we played Kitchener, and I was like so mad about the way I played. Like, and my line mate at the time, Sam Bitten, I was like, I called him over to my house, and I'm like, we're gonna go back and we're gonna watch this game, and we're not gonna do this tomorrow. And we watched the whole game. We came the next day. I just remember being so dialed into the game. Like I was just so like anxious to start because I just wanted to like prove that that's not how I play. Like I need to be better. And like I scored in the first, and okay, I was like, okay, I'm going now. But it's not in my mind like score 5 goals. And then we go back to the locker room. Second period starts. I score a really nice goal, I remember. And then I go for another like wraparound. I score. So it's just going for me, right? And pucks are flying everywhere. The puck is finding me, and I'm just shooting everything. And it seems like the net's like a soccer net at this point. And I'm just shooting. I remember when I scored the fifth one, like there was like this buzz in the rink that like you just don't get like in a standard like OHL second period. Like you just don't get it. And it was like cool. Like I was like, I couldn't have been more like focused. But like after we came back in the locker room after I had 5, somebody said in the locker room, "What's the record, boys?" And like everyone kind of started breaking out laughing because we're like, "Sash, like what is wrong with you right now?" And I'm like, "Boys, like let's keep going. Like let's try to get more." And I remember I hit the post in the third. I was like, oh, 6, but man, I can't be greedy about 5. That was amazing.
What is the record? Do you know?
Man, I honestly think it's got to be 6 or 7. I think it's a good chance it could be 7. Just back
Yeah.
in the day, somebody had scored, but man, I don't know how that guy, whoever did that, I don't know how they did it.
Well, I mean, 5 and 2 periods? That's not bad either.
Yeah, I was buzzing. I remember they had like 6 shots on net, and I had 5 goals, so it was like crazy.
Who were you guys playing again? I forget now.
We were playing North Bay.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that was a special evening. That like just the whole like World Junior like return of like you and Mikey and uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh was there no, I'm thinking of the year after with Kevin and Andre. But the one before that, yeah, yourself and Mikey return and you score 5 goals, but then you also like it was a fan day or whatnot, so you get to go and everybody sign autographs and the whole fan base is there. What's it like too that like, because obviously you get to interact with the fans a lot and a few will hang around the doors and stuff like that, but to have 5 goals and then have literally a curated fan event where you get to interact with all that crowd that was buzzing through with you.
Yeah, well, that's cool because like I don't think you can play with high emotion if there's not people watching. You know what I mean? Like fans make the game better, and 67 fans are passionate, and they come in all kinds of ages. Like there's young guys, there's people who've been watching 30, 40 generations of 67 players. So that was cool. Like when I got up there, like I remember like people were like cheering and stuff, and I remember signing a bunch of autographs and asking me like how did I feel and stuff like that. And all you could do is I guess grin. I mean, it's so cool for people to like acknowledge you like that for like your success. I think that's something like I strive for is just getting some recognition. So it was pretty cool. It was a pretty special day.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love how it all kind of comes around too. Cause for me, that was also a really special day because I was able to get that shot of you in the locker room with the 5 pucks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
man, as a sports photographer, like even like that stuff doesn't happen that often, right? So I actually think I'm the only one with that shot from that day. So I'm like, that's one that like when I get into a permanent spot, like I'll probably toss up on the wall, maybe with a game worn Chemelevski jersey as well.
For sure, man. You know it. I mean, that was an unbelievable day, and I remember like I honestly could hold a smile. I think for like an hour if you wanted me to, with the pucks in my hand. It was like I wasn't letting go of those pucks. It was just an amazing experience. So, like you said, like I'm glad you could be there just to kind of capture that moment for me.
Yeah, no, I mean anytime because it's crazy too. I really testify you to a lot of like my some really good memories in Ottawa. Like the one like you give me the playoff puck, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think I've thanked you before, but man, that was such a special moment for me because coming in the way that I did, just really hopping halfway in the season, because I always attest myself to being like, listen, I got to be there first day of training camp, go through the whole grind with the guys so that like they know like I'm with them and I'm in that journey. But obviously, like I didn't really know of that opportunity until halfway through your year, and I just kind of offered up to help, and to see it resonate with you, kind of honoring me in a moment like that by giving me to put in the playoff spot, the puck. That was pretty special, man.
Man, that was cool, honestly. Like, I think the thing about the 67s that made us great was we included everybody. You know what I mean? I didn't want anyone to feel left out. Like, if you were in the locker room, always helping out, like, I feel like you should be acknowledged for your work. And that was. I think I was the guy handing out pucks the whole time, and
Yeah.
I just thought, Rob's sitting there and he's been taking photos and always keeping things light with the boys before the game. Like, let's let him put a puck up.
No, man, I appreciate it. It was cool, and I think Jacob Kelly took a little bit of a video, and just like seeing like Jack and Mikey and Felly, all you guys like cheering and like chant my name and stuff like that. Like that one's like, okay, this is gonna hold on for a lifetime, because I mean you guys have, I mean you're already succeeding substantially in the game, but I know there's like the ceiling. There is no roof for you guys. Like I mean, like the sky's the limit, basically, is to sum it up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about another big moment in your hockey career. You hear your name called in the NHL draft. Every kid kind of dreams of it as soon as they put on a pair of skates. What was that like for you?
Man, that was a good experience. That was a stressful day though, because I had expected to go a little bit higher at the time.
Mhm.
So for me, like it was like a relief almost. But I think it was a good thing. I took it with a grain of salt. Like when I got drafted lower than I thought, I was like, you know what, San Jose believes in me, and I'm going to show them why they got the pick that they deserved. And I mean, I think from that day on, like I worked twice as hard. Like I pushed myself even more. I had like motivation, because now, like you got drafted, your dream came true, but you're right at square one again, because now how do I make it to the NHL? So I think from that day on, like I've taken in like a memory, like a little like memory in like my memory bank, just thinking about that was an amazing day, hugging my parents and my brothers and stuff like that. And how do I go from there and turn it into reality?
What was it like getting to, essentially go with the Sharks right away, and those first, like, I guess almost like a homecoming in a way too, because I know San Jose is a little bit for, well, honestly, Huntington Beach to San Jose, what's that drive?
It's a 6 hour drive. So it's probably like, I mean, London to Ottawa.
Okay, yeah. I got family in Bakersfield, so I only really know like LA to Bakersfield. So
Yeah.
anything out of that, I kind of get lost. But yeah, so like kind of like a homecoming for you. Your first NHL camp. What was that like for you?
Man, that was cool. Cause there was a lot of big names like Pavelski, Thornton, Burns.
Hmm.
And you just watch these guys on TV, and now you're like, oh, I'm here. Like I'm in the game. I mean, I'm in the practice. Like don't mess up and have fun and just soak it in. And I mean, that's pretty cool. Like you said, just being from California, like I hadn't watched Sharks as much just because they were Northern California, but whenever they played the Ducks and stuff, I'd pay attention. And obviously being, like I would say a student of the game, all these big names and what they're known for.
And I guess it was a little bit of an ease into the situation because one of their superstars, Logan Couture. I mean, he's a 67s alum, so you guys kind of got to connect on that. What was it like? I guess the first moments. Did he kind of mentor you in a way when you first arrived?
You know what? He is a quiet guy himself,
Mhm.
but he acknowledges 67 alumni for sure. And I remember not as much. I remember my first year, but after we had made that big run where we lost in the finals, he came up to me. He's like, hey man, like congrats, like that was like a great run, but you cost me some money, because they had a bet in the locker room with between us and Guelph, and I thought it was funny of him, but it's pretty cool. I think the Sharks have a history with the 67 players of drafting them,
Mhm.
not just Logan Couture. I think McGinn as well, and then a couple other players I can't think of right now. But it's pretty cool. They're so far away from each other, but yet still connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's always funny to see the old alma mater bets that go on in locker rooms at the pro. I know the Red Blacks guys when Carlton and New Ottawa always get going.
Yeah.
Some of them are humilitary bets, I guess, where it's like they had Nate Bahar dress up in a like our mascot's a horse, obviously, like kind of
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. So they had him in like a kid's Halloween horse costume for the day and all their meetings. It
That's
gets
jokes.
yeah, it gets pretty comical. So what do you really attest to? Because I mean, like you said, you go in the sixth round and you don't really see like point blank. I was looking at the numbers and I was like, how did this guy fall in the sixth round? Because even as you performed in the AHL, like I mean, you're putting up close to a point per game. You're performing really well. What do you accredit that to? Because you don't really see a lot of young sixth round picks come in and do that at the AHL level.
Yeah, well, I just feel like after I got drafted, I didn't think about the sixth round or anything. I just thought like, I'm here now. Let me show what I got. I believe in myself and I know how good I can be. And I think I had a good start when I came to the Barracuda in my 18-year-old year. I remember scoring in my first game and I just playing really well. And I think, like you said, you just find new ways to adapt to the new level of hockey. And I think that's what's good about me is that I can play different positions and different styles of game.
So what do you think is going to be that next step in your hockey career where like you can see that transition of now you're a regular in a NHL locker room?
I think just the consistency. I think that's the biggest thing is the AHL is not an easy league at all. Some say it's even harder sometimes to play in just because of how competitive it can get. And I think for me, like just having consistent, good games, good play, and just try to make myself permanent amongst the Sharks.
Yeah, and I guess moving forward, what do you think are some I guess the next steps? What do you got in the schedule planned for yourself?
Well, hopefully, pretty soon we'll be heading out. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is just yet, but as you know, like there's been a lot of talks about like when the season's going to start, January 9th, January 13th. So for me, just still waiting, but I'm staying ready, and I know there's going to be a season. At least I think, and I'm excited because this is. I feel like I've been on overtime here working.
No, 100%. One thing that I want to, chat with you about too, that I think, who knows, maybe a lot of people know this about you, but from what I was able to see being a fly on the wall, like, I mean, you're great. You're a big family guy. I seen when your younger brother kind of came in for the developmental process with the 67s and even after the OHL finals there, like how you would talk to your brothers and your dad. I mean, what do you really attest to, wanting to be like the best big brother, I guess, and set an example to?
I mean, I like you said, I just want to set an example for Nico and Ilya. Like
Mhm.
for me, like we always are doing things together, and I think that's where the love comes from. And I just want to see them do better. Honestly, if they could do better than me, I'd be happy. Like that's just the kind of person I am. I want to see them succeed in anything they do, and especially in hockey. So for me, after the game and stuff, like it's so cool to see them. Because you got to be thankful for family, honestly, especially in times like this. You got to enjoy those moments where you are with your family because you never know what can happen and stuff like that. And for me, we get super competitive, me and my brothers, and I think it's brotherly love. And there's definitely been plenty of fights over who's better at what in any sport at any time. So that's I think why I love them the most is how competitive they are.
What I mean, obviously there's an age gap, but who would you credit to be the best hockey player in the family right now? Are you putting yourself at number one, or are you maybe?
I mean, I think I have to. Just I can't let them think that the older brother is not better. Like when the younger brother thinks that he's better, that's when it's over for the older brother.
Yeah. When do you ever think that day will come, or how long are you going to try and prolong that?
Well, I'll tell you this: like that day has come in many other things.
Okay.
Like in video games, I used to never lose to them in NHL or FIFA or whatever we do. Now I'm getting my ass kicked in everything. And I'm beating them in golf right now, but they're getting better, so I'm a little concerned about that. In basketball, I can still bully them, but
Yeah.
hopefully, I'd be happy for them if they continue doing well in hockey. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I get that. My little sister, she's like grade 12 now, and like the marks that she's rolling in, it makes my high school transcript look absolute junk. So I'm like, she's going into architecture at Dallas. I mean, she's definitely more of a math and critical thinking person as opposed to myself. So I chalk it off to smarts in our different field kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
can't give her too much credit, but no, man, that's awesome. And you mentioned basketball because that's something that just kind of sparked. I know for you, you kind of credit a lot of your mentality to Kobe, and like he was the reason why you wore number 8 in the 67s. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, man. Well, that's like my idol, I guess. Like when you say like, did you have anyone you looked up to in hockey? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say like a certain guy, but I always looked up to Kobe, just being from Southern California, and just watching him compete. I mean, there wasn't a better entertainer slash competitor than him, and I think obviously like the tragic passing was so sad for me, just because I mean, so sad for everyone. It kind of wore on me a little bit. I was on like All-Star break for the AHL, and that kind of like put a dent in the break. I felt like, just because it's somebody I look up to so much, and he's such a legend, and you just hear about all these stories and stuff. And if I could be a quarter of him, like 10% of him, I would be happy, just because of how hard he worked.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, man, take this compliment for what it is. I've seen a lot of those mentality moments with you, man. Like you just constantly, consistently kick it a gear up, and like when the game's on the line, like you're a dude who I'm excited to watch at the at the next level, and even now because I know I know the puck's going in the net. I know if it's the 67s, we're gonna grind out a W because you're just on the ice working.
Thank you.
No, and yeah, I mean, hey man, I appreciate you taking the time to chat. It was nice kind of going down some of the memory lanes with you, and it's tough because I had a bunch of plans, and I'll tell you a little bit more of some other projects after that I'm working on, and hopefully, one day we get to work on them. But this is everything that I had for you, man. This is the part of the show where I just hand it over to you. It's your show now. You can talk about whatever you want, life lesson, childhood story, man. It's all you.
Oh man, thanks for having me on. I had like never been on like an official podcast, so that's pretty cool.
I don't know how
It
official I am, but I appreciate.
No, it's still cool. Like it's like different than an interview. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's not as formal. It's just where you can be yourself. But like you said, I think playing for the 67s has been like the best like time of my life. I made so many memories, so many friends, and I don't think that it could have been as special if it wasn't in Ottawa. I think Ottawa is just a great city, and for me, like doing something I love and having a great atmosphere around me, just made it all the better. And it was cool because like you capture a lot of those moments for me, like these pictures and stuff. Like you remember stuff, but when you go back on your phone and you watch something, like it's cool. You know what I mean? Because then you're like, okay, I was here. This happened there. Like you start putting it together. Like I didn't even remember when you said that. After I had a signing thing, like now I remember walking up the
Yeah.
stairs and seeing that line of people. So that's pretty cool.
No, man. I think, yeah. Honestly, it is awesome to look back on it. It's one of my favorite moments and reasons like why I kind of do what I do. Right. So I'm glad, and yeah, I think this is a great part to leave it off on. How great the Ottawa 67s and the Ottawa as a whole is. The 613. A lot of love for that city.
Yeah, man. I agree with you.
All right, that's all for this week. Whether you're watching or listening, I just want to say thank you. Feel free to leave us feedback, whether in a review or comment. Love reading them and engaging with them, and honestly, it just fires me up. Have a great rest of your day, and in the meantime, stay best kind.